Chapter 13 Gasoline. What was supposed to be the peak weekend festival for leaf peepers had become an event of much smaller scale. All this rain, and then the storm had torn nearly all the colored leaves off the branches prematurely. Yes, there was an ocean of leaves blanketing the sidewalks and amassed in wet mounds, but that was not quite what people came from far and wide to see. The tourists made pilgrimages here to see the leaves on the trees, their beautiful colored cloaks banded about by gentle breezes. But one family didn't care. The Bell family was new to the area and thought it was wonderful. All of it. The leaves on the ground, how the bare trees against the sky looked lacy at their tops, the local crafts, and the urns of hot chocolate, coffee, and fresh cider. And the donuts. Don't forget Dolly Maccabee's donuts. These confections were famous around here, and the Bells had just discovered why. Each donut was just slightly crispy on the outside and cakey and lightly spiced on the inside. Was that a hint of cardamom? It was hard to tell. After the first discreet bite, the whole donut simply vanished into your mouth. Oh, murmured Dr. Bell, closing his eyes right there at the donut stand. And yes, he was a doctor and he knew donuts were bad for him, but every now and again, well, there was no real harm, was there? Echoed his wife and three children, their hands and mouths full of cider, hot chocolate, and donuts. While the Bell family certainly couldn't make up for all the missing tourists, their genuine appreciation for everything gave the people bundled in warm clothes, the people who were selling their wares or giving town tours, a much-needed boost of goodwill. It didn't hurt either that the Bells liked spending money. "What does Dewey want with gasoline?" asked Fluff. That evening, Burdock had seen 4 5-gallon jugs of gasoline sitting in the tool room on a shelf. It was hard to miss them. The rusty red containers were lined up like beacons of doom under the hanging light bulb. Everyone was in a state of panic. Fluff looked confused. "You don't want to know," said Burdock. But since he had told them about the gasoline, he figured he owed it to Fluff to explain. Gasoline is a fire accelerator. Fluff's face still looked uncertain. "It makes things burn faster," said Burdock. Numerous times the cat had seen the farmers pour gasoline on a brush pile. The way it blazed up was amazing. If you put gasoline on a fire, in seconds it blows up to 10, 20, maybe 100 times its size, just like that. Fluff opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. "Has anyone considered," suggested Mrs. Brown in a soft voice, "that maybe Dewey is planning on moving us out before he burns down the barn?" Pull gave her a skeptical look. "To where? His bedroom?" "I don't know," said Mrs. Brown. She had never stood up to Pull or argued against him, but she was emboldened. For all his bristle, Dewey had a fairly gentle touch when he milked her. "We know Dewey intends to burn down the barn, but we can't be sure of his intentions towards us. As far as I know, he's never tried to hurt us." Neither Burdock or Nanny mentioned how Dewey had roughly shoved the cat just earlier that morning, and Burdock didn't bring up how harsh Dewey had been with Fluff the other day. "I wonder," said Mrs. Brown, "if Dewey might save us still." Pull grunted. "A nice thought, but highly unlikely. And honestly, Mrs. Brown, do you really want to be the one to stick around and find out?" "Well, if you put it that way," thought the cow. The daylight was almost gone, and the half moon, looking like a bowl of cream, started its ascent above the trees. Burdock slipped out of the barn. He walked down the slight hill to the end of the driveway where the mailboxes stood askew and looked up. Beside him, dry tansy stalks rasped together. Now there came another noise that grew steadily louder, a car engine. and lights appeared from the right. Burdock jumped back into the foliage and watched the car pass, following the glowing taillights until they disappeared around the corner. Somehow Burdock knew that town was that way, but how far it was he had no idea. He could go down that road. He was independent and capable, and he could walk a little while. He probably he could probably find a new home for himself, or he could take a different kind of chance and stay.